Here are 10 terrible signs you're being manipulated. Signs so subtle they might be controlling your life without you even noticing. Think about this. Has someone ever made you feel guilty for saying no, left you questioning your reality, or used affection as a tool to get their way? These aren't just annoying behaviors, they're calculated strategies to keep you under their control. But here's the twist. You don't have to stay trapped. The ancient Stoics faced manipulation in their own time, and their wisdom can help you recognize and resist it today. In this video, we'll break down these 10 toxic behaviors and show you how Stoic principles can arm you against them. Whether it's emotional coercion, gaslighting, or weaponized flattery, you'll learn how to reclaim your power and build a fortress of inner peace. Stick with me. You'll walk away stronger, smarter, and completely unshakable. 1. Emotional coercion. The silent manipulation. Have you ever felt an uncomfortable weight on your shoulders, like someone was making you responsible for their feelings or decisions? Emotional coercion works this way. It's subtle, yet it has a profound impact on your sense of freedom. A friend might say, "If you don't come to my party, I'll be so hurt." Or a partner might suggest, "You don't love me if you won't do this for me." These statements plant seeds of guilt, fear, or obligation, manipulating you into compliance. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote. It teaches that our emotions and reactions are entirely within our control. Epictetus reminds us, it's not events themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about them. In this case, the manipulator's words are not the problem. Our reaction to them is. Emotional coercion succeeds when we let others' feelings dictate our actions. But as Stoics, we aim to act according to reason and virtue, not emotional pressure. To relate this to my own life, I once had a colleague who was particularly skilled at emotional coercion. They often framed their requests with phrases like, "You're the only person I can rely on," or, "If you don't help me, I'll be in serious trouble." These statements made me feel obligated to prioritize their needs over my own. It wasn't until I started studying Stoic philosophy that I realized how much power I was handing over. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By applying this principle, I began pausing before reacting. When faced with guilt-laden pleas, I asked myself, am I responsible for their feelings? Is this aligned with my values? I learned to set firm but compassionate boundaries, responding with statements like, "I understand this is difficult for you, but I can't commit to that right now." The beauty of Stoicism lies in its practicality. It doesn't ask us to shut down our emotions, but to manage them wisely. Emotional coercion thrives on our inability to separate others' feelings from our own responsibilities. By staying grounded, assessing situations rationally, and acting in alignment with our principles, we can break free from this subtle yet destructive form of manipulation. In doing so, we regain control over our actions and emotions, preserving our inner peace. 2. Gaslighting, doubting your reality. Have you ever walked away from a conversation doubting what you know to be true? Gaslighting, a tactic often used by manipulators, is designed to distort your perception of reality. It's when someone denies facts, twists events, or accuses you of being overly sensitive to make you question your memory, judgment, or sanity. Statements like, "That never happened," or "Me gestorci," "You're imagining things," are hallmarks of this manipulation technique. The Stoics teach us to anchor ourselves in reason and objective reality, protecting our inner clarity from external distortions. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth." Stoicism encourages us to focus on facts, not emotions, when evaluating situations. Gaslighting works when we lose confidence in our reasoning, but the Stoic approach empowers us to remain steadfast in our understanding of the truth. In my own experience, I once had a friend who would routinely dismiss valid concerns I raised by saying, "You're blowing things out of proportion." Over time, I started to question whether my feelings were valid. However, I began applying Stoic principles by keeping a journal to document events and conversations. This gave me an objective record to reference, helping me differentiate between my own perceptions and the manipulator's version of events. When faced with gaslighting, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have for my perspective? Am I being led by reason or by someone else's narrative? If the situation allows, calmly challenge the manipulator with facts. "Actually, I remember this differently. Here's what I recall happening." However, the key is not to engage in emotional arguments. They thrive on confusion. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control others' actions, we can control our response. Grounding ourselves in truth and logic weakens the manipulator's grip. By trusting our rational mind, we safeguard our confidence and avoid falling prey to gaslighting. 3. Excessive flattery. Sweet words with bitter intentions. Have you ever been overwhelmed by compliments, only to realize later that they came with strings attached? Excessive flattery is a manipulator's tool to gain your trust and lower your defenses. They might say things like, "You're so amazing. No one else could do this as well as you." While it feels good in the moment, it's often a calculated attempt to exploit your desire for approval. Stoicism warns us against attaching our self-worth to others' opinions. Seneca advised, "A wise man is neither elevated by praise nor depressed by blame." Excessive flattery becomes manipulation when we rely on it to feel validated. A Stoic knows that true worth comes from living virtuously, not from the approval of others. I recall working with someone who constantly praised my work, telling me, "You're the best team player we have." I felt proud, but soon noticed a pattern. Every compliment was followed by a request, often for tasks that weren't my responsibility. Stoicism helped me step back and evaluate their motives. Were they genuinely appreciative, or was their praise a prelude to manipulation? To handle such situations, focus on staying humble and grounded. Acknowledge the compliment, but don't let it cloud your judgment. Instead of feeling obligated, calmly assess the request's merit. Say, "Thank you for the kind words, but let me consider if I can help with that." Flattery only works as manipulation when we let it. By cultivating inner confidence and focusing on virtue, we can appreciate genuine praise without being swayed by excessive or insincere compliments. A Stoic mind remains balanced, neither inflated by flattery nor diminished by criticism. 4. Isolation. Cutting you off from support. Manipulators often isolate you from your support system to gain more control over your decisions. They might subtly discourage you from spending time with friends or family, claiming that those relationships are not in your best interest. Over time, you find yourself distanced from the people who provide strength, perspective, and emotional stability. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of meaningful relationships and community. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We are made for cooperation, like feet, hands, eyelids, or the rows of the upper and lower teeth." This reminds us that human connections are essential, not obstacles to be removed. Recognizing attempts at isolation allows us to remain connected to the relationships that nourish and support us. In my life, I once dealt with someone who constantly questioned my closest friendships. They would say things like, "Are they really there for you?" Or, "I think they're jealous of our bond." Their subtle remarks made me doubt my friends and rely more on the manipulator for support. But when I applied Stoic principles, I started to see through their tactics. By evaluating relationships objectively, I realized the manipulator's claims didn't align with reality. To counter isolation, actively nurture your relationships and seek diverse perspectives. Stoicism teaches us to act in accordance with reason, and part of that involves valuing the people who truly care for us. Don't let anyone dictate whom you can or cannot trust without evidence. Stay grounded and maintain the connections that bring balance and joy to your life. 5. Playing the victim. Weaponizing helplessness. Manipulators often present themselves as victims to elicit sympathy and shift the burden of responsibility onto you. They might recount endless tales of mistreatment or unfairness, subtly implying that it's your duty to make things right for them. While compassion is a virtue, Stoicism warns us against allowing pity to cloud our judgment. Epictetus advised, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Manipulators exploit your kindness, but it's essential to remember that their circumstances are outside your control. You cannot solve every problem they present, nor should you feel obligated to. I encountered someone who frequently lamented their misfortunes, from financial woes to strained relationships. Initially, I felt compelled to help, offering my time, energy, and resources. However, their problems persisted, and I began to notice a pattern. They weren't seeking solutions, just attention and compliance. Stoicism helped me step back and ask myself, am I truly helping, or am I enabling their behavior? The key to dealing with this manipulation is to approach it rationally. Offer support when appropriate, but set clear boundaries. Ask yourself whether your involvement aligns with your values, or if it simply feeds their dependency. By focusing on what you can control, your actions and intentions, you prevent their victimhood from dictating your choices. 6. Exploiting vulnerabilities, using your weaknesses against you. A manipulator will often identify and exploit your vulnerabilities, turning your fears, insecurities, or desires into leverage. They may subtly remind you of past failures or insecurities, using them to steer your decisions in their favor. Stoic wisdom teaches us to embrace self-awareness and strengthen our inner resilience. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Recognizing and accepting your vulnerabilities is the first step to preventing their misuse. By owning your flaws, you take away the manipulator's power to use them against you. I once confided in someone about my fear of failure in a project. Later, when disagreements arose, they would say things like, "If you don't do this my way, you might regret it later." Their words tapped into my fear, making me doubt my instincts. But through Stoic practice, I learned to confront my insecurities directly. By reminding myself that failure is a natural part of life and a chance to grow, I stopped allowing them to control me through fear. Strengthening your inner fortitude weakens the manipulator's influence. Accept your vulnerabilities, but don't let them define you. A Stoic faces weaknesses with courage and works to transform them into sources of strength. 7. Withholding information, controlling through secrecy. Manipulators often withhold crucial information to maintain control over you. They might selectively share details, leaving you feeling uncertain or dependent on them for clarity. By keeping you in the dark, they can shape narratives and steer your decisions in their favor. Stoicism emphasizes the pursuit of truth and clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let your understanding be clear and distinct, and your judgments unaffected by mere appearances." To counter this manipulation, a Stoic seeks facts and avoids making assumptions based on incomplete information. I've experienced situations where someone withheld key details in a professional setting, framing the situation in a way that suited their agenda. It wasn't until I asked specific questions and sought other perspectives that I realized I wasn't getting the full picture. The Stoic principle of rational inquiry helped me take a step back and recognize that clarity comes from actively seeking knowledge rather than passively accepting what's given. When you suspect someone is withholding information, remain calm and ask direct, respectful questions. Don't allow fear or frustration to cloud your judgment. Instead, approach the situation methodically, seeking the facts before drawing conclusions. Stoicism teaches us to remain grounded, ensuring that secrecy and uncertainty cannot easily manipulate us. 8. Love bombing and deprivation, emotional whiplash. Love bombing and deprivation are manipulation techniques that work in tandem. First, the manipulator showers you with affection and attention, creating a sense of dependency. Then they withdraw abruptly, leaving you craving the connection they once provided. This cycle keeps you off balance, questioning what you did wrong and striving to regain their approval. Stoic wisdom reminds us to find stability within ourselves, rather than seeking it from external sources. Epictetus taught, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Manipulators use emotional highs and lows to keep you tethered, but a Stoic learns to detach from such extremes and seek balance within. I've faced this manipulation in a personal relationship where intense affection was followed by sudden coldness. Each time, I found myself trying harder to fix the dynamic. Once I embraced Stoicism, I realized their behavior was outside my control. By focusing on my own sense of worth and emotional balance, I broke free from the cycle. To resist this tactic, cultivate emotional independence. Appreciate love and kindness when it's genuine, but don't allow your happiness to hinge on someone else's behavior. A Stoic finds peace in their own actions and principles, not in the fluctuating attention of others. 9. Excessive control, dictating your choices. Manipulators often attempt to control your decisions, dictating how you should think, act, or even feel. They may frame their interference as care or concern, saying things like, "I just want what's best for you," while subtly steering you toward their desired outcomes. Stoicism champions personal agency and the ability to live in alignment with your values. Epictetus wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Manipulators thrive when we surrender control, but the Stoic path is about reclaiming autonomy and making choices based on reason, not external pressure. I once had a mentor who frequently overstepped, insisting their advice was the only path to success. At first, I followed their guidance, but it began to feel stifling. Applying Stoic wisdom, I reflected on my own goals and principles. Were their suggestions truly aligned with what I valued, or was I letting them dictate my life? By setting boundaries and making decisions rooted in my convictions, I regained control. To counter excessive control, calmly assert your independence. Thank the person for their input, but remind them and yourself that the ultimate decision is yours. A Stoic lives authentically, guided by inner principles rather than external dictates. 10. Blaming and shaming. Deflecting responsibility. Manipulators often use blame and shame as tools to deflect responsibility onto you. They may accuse you of being selfish, ungrateful, or incompetent, making you feel as though you're at fault for their shortcomings or failures. Stoicism teaches us to accept responsibility for our own actions while rejecting unjust criticism. Marcus Aurelius advised, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." When manipulators try to shame us, we can choose not to internalize their words. I've dealt with someone who frequently blamed me for their mistakes, saying things like, "This wouldn't have happened if you had supported me better." For a time, I believed them, but Stoic reflection helped me see that their failures weren't my burden to bear. I learned to separate valid feedback from baseless accusations, focusing on what I could control, my own actions and responses. When confronted with blame or shame, pause and reflect. Ask yourself whether the criticism is justified. If it is, take accountability and grow from it. If it isn't, let it pass without allowing it to disturb your peace. A Stoic knows that their worth is not determined by others' judgments, but by living virtuously and staying true to their principles. Manipulation thrives in the shadows, but with the clarity and resilience that Stoic wisdom provides, you now have the tools to recognize and resist it. By identifying these 10 signs and staying anchored in your values, you can protect your peace and reclaim your personal freedom. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it. It really supports the channel. Subscribe for more Stoic insights and practical advice to empower your daily life, and I'd love to hear from you. Which of these signs resonated with you the most? Or do you have your own experiences or takeaways to share? Drop them in the comments below. I read and value every single one. Together, let's build a community grounded in wisdom, strength, and mutual support. See you in the next video.